The Central Valley of California is a flat, elongated stretch of land about 450 miles long that runs from northeast to southeast down the center of the state. Often called the breadbasket of the world, it's thought to be mostly farms and agriculture, but there are many towns and cities here that are home to nearly 7 million people. Not a lot of money in these parts. Drug use is rampant and the homicide rate is off the charts. Here are some of their stories. This is Murder in the Central Valley. This week's episode, Murder in On 9. Manteca is a growing city 80 miles east of San Francisco. In the late 90s, it was still a small community of about 50,000 people. For years, it was the laughingstock of Northern California. Spreckles Sugar, that operated in the southeast corner of town for 80 years, would put out such an odor that drivers on 99 used to complain about its smell. Its massive silos could be seen for miles. Until 1997, when the plant shut its doors for good and this happened. A new development started taking shape, Spreckles Park Shopping Center. In 2000, a new Home Depot store broke ground. Construction was well underway on June 5th when workers inside the structure started to move some rubble. There was something foreign in the middle. They lifted a roll of insulation and found a body of a young woman hidden amongst it. Crews immediately called the police, who quickly secured the scene and started an investigation. They soon realized that this was the body of a missing woman reported a few days before. On June 3rd, Renee Ramos called the police to report a missing person. She hadn't seen her 18-year-old daughter, Renee, for about a week. She had an idea who her daughter was with. In 1999, Renee met then 17-year-old Jacob Silva. Her mother didn't like or trust Jacob and didn't want him dating her daughter. She even saw signs of abuse. The authorities responded to domestic dispute calls between the two of them. In an interview, Renee's mother said she had seen bruises on her daughter's arms in the past, and just before she went missing, she had a black eye. One time, Jacob had also kicked in the windshield on Renee's car. Silva was a skateboarder. He got Ramos a skateboard and the two were seen boarding around town frequently. Near the end of 1999, Jacob went to Oregon for 3 months. While he was away, Ramos, as youngsters do, started seeing someone else. According to court documents, when Jacob came back in March and found out what had been going on, he was enraged and vowed revenge. He told a friend he wanted to drug her and gang rape her. He also said he wanted to kill her. When the Manteca High Jr. turned 18 on April 17th, she moved out with Jacob. The problem was Jacob was homeless. The two stayed with friends, in friends' cars, slept in parks and behind stores. The relationship was rocky, to say the least, with Renee seeing someone else while Jacob was gone, and his violent temper made for a real volatile situation. Sometime between May 29th and June 3rd, there was a plan for a party. It was to be in the then under-construction Home Depot in southeast Manteca. There were between 7 and 20 people there to party and skateboard. Some teens, some in their 20s and 30s. One of which was 33-year-old Ty Eric Lopes. Lopes brought beer and ecstasy. Amongst the attendees was 14-year-old Josh Burrows. He would be a key player in the case. More on him later. The last time anyone had seen Renee was Monday, May 29th, Memorial Day. Her and Jacob had gone to a temp agency. They were looking to pick up some extra cash. When signing in, the agency required a social security card. Renee had hers, but Jake didn't have his, so he was out. The two sat and filled out a packet. Jacob told Renee he's going to the park to meet up with friend Ray Jones and to meet him there if she doesn't get a job. This was about 8:30 in the morning. About an hour later, Ramos finds out that she won't be getting a job on this day. She left heading towards the park. Jacob claims that she never showed up at the park, so he figured she got work for the day. At around 5 o'clock, he says he waited out front of the temp agency for an hour thinking she should be off of work soon. She never showed up. Silva started asking around if anyone had seen Ramos. A friend said they saw her walking on Yosemite Avenue near KFC towards her mom's house. While searching for her, he flagged down an officer and told them Renee was missing. Police believe the party took place between May 29th and June 3rd. An autopsy was performed on Renee. It determined the cause of death to be ligature strangulation. The marks on Ramos's body were consistent with someone strangling her with her bra and the beads she had been wearing around her neck. The autopsy report showed that Ramos died 3 days to a week before her body was discovered, between May 29th and June 4th. Renee's funeral was a solemn event. Several hundred people, young and old, showed up to celebrate her short life. When someone is murdered, the person closest to them is usually the prime suspect. So on June 6th, the day after her body was found, police brought Jacob Silva in for questioning. They talked with him for a few hours.
You ever stay out by that Home Depot where it's under construction?
No.
You understand that's where she's found, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He told his version of what happened over the 7-day period and was eventually allowed to leave. During the course of the investigation, detectives talked to 14-year-old Josh Burrows. Josh claims to have witnessed the whole thing. He said sometime over the Memorial Day weekend, he was partying at the construction site. He saw Ramos and Silva arguing, and also saw Silva hit her at least twice. Josh said he left the party shortly after. The police brought Josh to the construction site. Although the area looked different now, he described exactly where the body was located. Josh accurately described how the area looked on the night of the murder and the condition of the victim's clothing when the body was discovered. Before a second interview, Josh asked to visit Renee's grave. Feeling the weight of the situation this time, he opened up. After staring at the grave, he described what happened the night of the murder. Lopes, Silva, and Raymond Goins were present. Silva beat the victim and dragged her from the back rooms to the spot where her body was found. The three had sexual intercourse with her. At some point, Silva choked her with her bra. Then Lopes choked her, holding her up like a hangman until she went limp. Goins and Lopes then moved the body a couple of feet and covered it. In a third interview, Josh told police that Silva choked Ramos with his hands before beating her, and that, although she had only 1 beer at the party, she was acting as if she had too much to drink. When Lopes found out that Burrows was singing, he threatened him, saying, "You're going down, punk." 3 months after Renee Ramos's murder, arrests were made. Police picked up Josh Silva, Ty Lopes, and 23-year-old Raymond Goins for rape and murder. Goins was arrested in the Midwest and brought back to the Central Valley. In 2002, Lopes and Silva went on trial separately. Ray Goins had his charges dropped for his testimony. While in custody, Ty started talking to another inmate. He said he thought Jake and Renee were play fighting, and so he held her wrists. When he noticed she was crying, he let her go. He said eventually Goins killed her with the help of Silva. The 3 men had sex with Renee as the others held her down. He said Goins helped move and hide the body. Ty Lopes was found guilty of rape and murder with special circumstances and was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. November 13th, Jacob Silva's trial began. Goins and Burrows testified. The defense argued that Burrows later claimed he made up the story of witnessing the murder. However, when he was taken to the crime scene, he pointed to exactly where her body was hidden. His account of her being strangled was correct. By all accounts, he was telling the truth. Prosecutors said it jealousy, the oldest motive in the book. Later, Jacob took the stand and said he never threatened Renee and didn't kill her and knew nothing about the murder. He didn't convince the jury and was convicted of murder after just 5 hours of deliberation. Jacob Lee Silva was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. In 2010, Ty Lopes was killed by his cellmate. Jacob's friends and family claim that he was wrongfully convicted, stating that he passed multiple lie detector tests. Of course, these tests are easy to cheat and aren't admissible in court. Renee Ramos is buried in Escalon, and life in Manteca goes on. That's this week's Murder in the Central Valley. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.